in the Binghamton regional office. We have many regional offices that I cannot name for you. I started at the Attorney General's office actually in January of this year. So I'm pretty new to the civil side of the state work for what I do as a lawyer. However, like I said previously, I was a prosecutor with the Broome County District Attorney's Office for almost 11 years. So I happen to know a thing or two about scams and whether or not they would constitute as crimes. I've prosecuted people that have targeted elderly people and seniors for scams that they've committed and thus taking advantage of them financially. I also have dealt with the Attorney General's office quite a bit with the same kind of issues. I also sit on an elder abuse committee. So I know a little bit about this. And right now, I want to talk to you about scams that current scams that are targeting seniors and how you can try to help yourself to avoid falling victim to those scams. So I'm not going to lie, it's a hard thing to do. We're going to talk about this. There is a lot of new technology and advanced technology that scammers have come out with that make it sound make websites look legitimate, make emails look legitimate, ads, letters that you get in the mail, phone calls, text messages. So there's a few things, however, that you can do to kind of protect yourself and help yourself. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So that's hopefully the goal that you get out of today. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So first I want to start with talking about a few statistics, or what I found to be kind of astounding statistics, I guess. In the United States, 1 in 10 adults will fall victim to a scam or fraud every year. So I believe I saw that there is, I don't know how I pulled that up, participants in this video, in this Zoom meeting. There is about 15 of us. So probably 1, and if there was 5 more people, 2 of us would fall victim to a scam this year. Americans are significantly more likely to be victims of identity theft than any other nationality. Over 791 million identities were stolen in 2016. And you can imagine that number has grown dramatically since 2016. Over a quarter of shoppers are victims of online shopping fraud attempts on Black Friday alone. That is a huge amount for online shopping fraud. And we're going to talk about online shopping fraud and what that is. Every month, around 1.5 million new phishing sites are set up. I have a specific slide that we're going to talk about in a little bit that's going to talk about what a phishing site is, phishing in general, the 3 kinds of just generally phishing ways that people conduct their phishing, and ways that you can try to avoid it and protect yourself. 83 million Facebook accounts are fake. 1 in 10 profiles on free dating sites are scams. And 1.3 million children will have their identity stolen every year. So interestingly, the states with the highest per capita rates for reported fraud in 2019 did not include New York, which I was shocked about, to be honest. They include Nevada, Florida, Georgia, Delaware, Maryland, and for reporting identity theft, the top states were Georgia, Florida, California, Texas, and Nevada. New York is number 12. Younger people will report losing money to fraud more often than older people. 33% of people in the age range of 20 to 29, and only 13% in the age range of 70 to 79. However, what is interesting is that when people that are 70 years or older have a loss, the median loss is much higher. So what does that mean? That means that when people 70 or over fall victim to a scam, they tend to lose more money than younger people who more often fall victim to those scams. So in the age ranges of 20 to 29, the median loss when you fall victim to a scam is $448. But for the age range of 70 to 79, the median loss is $800. And the median loss for anybody over the age of 80 is $1,600. 1 in 5 scam complaints come from somebody over 65. And there is often an increase in fraudulent activity after disease or natural disasters, such as wildfires, hurricanes, COVID-19, things like that. So those are just some interesting facts for you. So let's get right into it. What are the top scams that are targeting seniors? Seniors are often targeted because they tend to be more trusting and polite. You also tend to have financial savings, own a home, have good credit, unlike young people that might not have all those things, might not be trusting, might not be polite, and more importantly, might not have a financial savings, they might not own a home or have good credit. You might also not be able to do the things that you used to be able to do, such as physical work around the house. Maybe some faculties have diminished, not hear as well, you might not remember as well, or maybe some people get confused. But the number one reason why seniors are more often targeted is because they're least likely to report. In studies, it's been said that seniors, when they fall victim to a scam, will likely just say, oh, I lost that money, that was a scam, and they'll move on. They won't report it. So what are the top scams? The number one, or one of the number one scams, is called the grandparent scam. Now, let me give you an example of this. So criminals will pose as a relative, usually a child or a grandchild, and they're claiming to be in immediate financial need. I have godparents, and I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, they called me up, and it was my godmother, and she said, oh my gosh, Stephanie, my grandson is in jail in Rhode Island. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And she said, yep, he's in jail in Rhode Island. And I'm like, well, is he supposed to be in Rhode Island? And she said, no, he's supposed to be at Broome Community College in his dorm room. And I said, well, did you check Broome Community College in his dorm room to make sure he's not there? Can you tell me the whole story? So she goes on and on to tell me this whole story about how some lawyer called her, and he's a lawyer, a criminal lawyer in Rhode Island. And that he said that her grandson got locked up because he was in a car accident, and don't try to call his phone because it got damaged in the car accident and it no longer works. And he's going to need money. He can get him out on bail, he's pretty sure, but he's going to need $10,000 in cash mailed to him in a very specific envelope to a specific address. And this is the number you can reach him at if you have any questions, but it has to be done within the next 2 hours before lunchtime. So of course, she's all distraught. And I said to her, well, Shirley, because that's her name, did you ever talk to your grandson? Because this sort of seems like a scam. And she's like, no, I talked to him. I talked to him on the phone. The lawyer handed over the phone and I talked to him. And I said, oh, because in my head, as a prosecutor at the time, I thought to myself, maybe her grandson is trying to scam her for money. But as it turns out, her emotions were so high, thinking that they hit somebody. I think that was the story. He was driving, that he was locked up in a jail in Rhode Island, that he needed money, and that his phone was broken, that lawyer, because it wasn't really a lawyer, handed the phone to another person who claimed to be her grandson and just kind of cried a little bit and said, I'm in jail, please help me, grandma. And she thought, because her emotions were very high, that this was her grandson. So again, because I worked at a prosecutor's office, I grabbed one of our investigators. I went out to BCC. We had the BCC investigators, the police department there, look at the surveillance camera, and we found her grandson walking from the cafeteria to his dorm room. I wasn't quite confident that he wasn't involved in this scam yet. So we approached him. We questioned him dramatically, extensively, because I wanted to make sure that he wasn't trying to scam my godparents out for any money. And as it turns out, he had no idea what we were talking about. He was a victim of this scam as well. Now, luckily, The bank, when my godfather went to go and try to take the $10,000 out of their bank account, the bank kind of flagged it. And then my godmother got mad about that because, again, how dare the bank tell her what she should be able to spend her money on? But I said, and Shirley, they're just trying to help you. So when they notice something like that, that's a red flag. To take so much money out at one given time and for a reason that you either don't want to say or that sounds a little suspicious. And luckily, she never mailed out that money. We put the money back into her bank account, and that was it. You will also see grandparent scams such as either an email or a phone call where they say, "Hi, grandma," or "Hi, grandpa. I actually traveled overseas and I'm stuck here and I really need some money to get home. Please help me. I don't know what to do." Something along those lines. Number one, the first thing you should do if you get a call like this is to hang up the phone and call your relative. I don't care if they told you some sob story on that phone that the phone was broken or something like that. Chances are it's a scam. So you should hang up and call your relative on the phone. Make sure that they're actually overseas or they went to Rhode Island or wherever they claim to be from. You never think that something like this you would ever fall victim to. And to be quite clear, I never thought my Aunt Shirley would fall victim to this either. But again, emotions are high in a situation where you think that your relative is in trouble and needs help. So this is a big scam that goes on for that people target seniors for. There is also government impersonation scams. I should note too, with that grandparent scam, oftentimes when you're sending cash through the mail in an envelope, we're, investigators, police departments, people can try to follow up on that, but chances are we're never figuring out where that money went. Chances are they used a burner phone that they're going to turn off after that. And you're just going to be at a loss of money and nobody's going to be able to get prosecuted for stealing your money. So just kind of be aware of that. Okay. Government impersonation scams. So in this type of scam, criminals will pose as government employees and threaten to arrest or prosecute you unless you agree to provide funds or payments. Please note, the government will never threaten to prosecute you or arrest you there on the spot unless you give them money. Okay, that does not happen. Nobody calls you up and says, "Hey, I'm from the IRS and I need money now or else you're going to get arrested." That doesn't happen. Okay. Likely instead of a phone call, you'll get a letter from the IRS or some other government agency. What you should do is, if you're unsure, is you should figure out if they actually sent it or not. So what I like to do is not rely on the letter itself or the phone call itself. Immediately hang up if it's a phone call. Call the IRS yourself. Google the number if you're unsure about what it is, or ask somebody to help you. And we can verify whether or not the letter was actually sent by the IRS to you or a different government agency, or if they were actually calling you for one reason or another. Another really big scam that targets seniors is the home repair scam. Now, in this type of scam, criminals will appear in person. Likely they will be driving around and they will see you as a senior outside your house doing whatever outside your house. And they will come up and they will say things like, "Hey, I see that your roof needs to be done. I'm actually a roofer. So I just finished one down the street. I can do your roof for you. Have you been looking at getting your roof done at any point?" And let's be honest, with roofs, what is it? Once every 10, 15, 20 years that you get them done. And with diminished faculties, a lot of people don't really remember when they actually get their roofs done. And they think, well, yeah, maybe it is time to get my roof done so nobody else has to worry about it later on. Now, these people will claim to be legitimate contractors, and if I'm being honest, they probably could be if they put their mind to it and actually did the work like they wanted to and were supposed to. But likely what will happen is they will take your money, they'll quote you for something that is a lot cheaper than other people. They will take your money and then they will do either no job or a really, really, really crappy job. So when I was at the DA's office a few years ago, I prosecuted a family that was going around and they were trying to do this roofing scheme, right? So they were targeting elderly people. They would go and get, I don't know, 10 to 16, $20,000 for doing a roof. They would bring materials. But what these seniors didn't realize is that they were extremely damaged or used materials that they would get from like tearing off a roof somewhere else, and then they would go and try to put it on your roof. Or it was like a metal roof with holes already in it because somebody already used it, and you can't redo that because what do you think happens when it rains? Those holes are still there, so water is going to leak right through them. Or they would just do some kind of patchwork, go up on their roof for like a day, maybe 2 days. And a lot of times these people would come back and say, hey, you didn't give me enough money. I need more money. And, you know, if you think that you've hired somebody to do a legitimate job for you, and they're saying that they need more money, and you think to yourself, oh, well, either I pay them a little bit more money so that they get the job done, or I don't get the job done at all. And then what? So then you end up paying them more money. So what you should do, there was one just recently that happened where they were doing paving scams. And I don't want to, I'm not trying to call out anybody that has this last name. However, if you come across somebody that is offering to do your driveways by the name of Rodney Cooper or the last name of Cooper, be aware that it could and likely is maybe a scam. So what they will do is they will use like, I don't know, $10 worth of material, and they will try to put something shiny on your driveway to make it look nice for like a day. And then after that, it completely falls apart because it's basically asphalt mixed with like paint thinner, and it does absolutely nothing for your driveway. It's like it's not even a sealant. So be aware of paving scams as well. Oftentimes these people don't, it's not like you call these people up from, you find them on, well, maybe not look at Craigslist, but it's not like you find them in the yellow pages or you saw that they were doing work and they had a billboard out at somebody else's, your neighbor's house or something like that. These people will often drive around looking for people to target with their scams. And a lot of times they push for the payment right then and there. So what you should do if you need some home repairs is be a responsible homeowner and get multiple estimates from multiple places for the repairs that you're looking to get done. You can also get a family member to help you and interact with the contractor instead of you yourself interacting with the contractor and handling that money. We also have a family or caregiver scam. Unfortunately, this does happen. Unfortunately, it's oftentimes a relative or an acquaintance of a senior person who is looking to take advantage of the elderly person to get money. So a lot of times what will happen is you as a senior decide that you are going to assign somebody as your power of attorney, or mostly your power of attorney, not necessarily your healthcare proxy, because that doesn't get them any money. So your power of attorney, and you will often not notice, but the bank account will start to diminish pretty quickly, because these types of people like to gift themselves money or gift their family members money, or get things that they will claim is in your best interest, but really not in your best interest. The power of attorney paperwork is changing. So I'm not quite confident on the new changes as of like today. However, I'll look into that. But based on the power of attorney paperwork that I think currently exists, because I don't think the new power of attorney paperwork has gone into effect yet. What's important to note there is that there's a major gift writer section, meaning that you can give your power of attorney the authority to gift major gifts, such as up to, I believe it's like $5,000 at any given time, to people or themselves. Don't check that off. Never check that off. I mean, I guess I should be clear. There are certain reasons why somebody would want to do that. So just be confident and know that if you do check that off, that your power of attorney can and will, well, can, I should say, gift themselves or others large amounts of money that belongs to you. So just be aware. I don't mean to sound so untrusting. There are many people that have many family members and many acquaintances who are very trusting and will do a great job as a power of attorney for you. However, just be confident and know who you're picking for something like that to handle your money. All right. Anti-aging products. I'll be honest, this is big for many people, not just seniors. So what you should be careful with on these is that scammers will advertise anti-aging products that are either worthless or sometimes even harmful. And that's the scary part. So some products might contain materials that can be harmful, yet they're touted by scammers as being effective, and like brand name products such as Botox. Okay. Medicare scams. In scams involving Medicare, fraudsters will pose as Medicare representatives to get a senior to give them their personal information, such as their Medicare identification number. Then this person will use this information to bill Medicare for fraudulent services and then pocket the money. So if Medicare starts contacting you, again, what we talked about before with those government scams, people that are pretending to be a part of a government agency, hang up, get their, you can even get their name and number. Say, I'm going to have to call you back. Hang up. Call your Medicare insurance, call your service rep, call whoever that you already know that you have a number for, and say, hey, is John Doe a part of, he just called me at this phone number. Does he work for you guys? Because he's asking for my Medicare identification number. And just make sure that it's legitimate before you start giving your personal information out. Counterfeit prescription drugs. As prices for prescription drugs increase, some people look to the internet to find cheaper prices for their medications. Unfortunately, scammers are aware of this and they will advertise cheap prescription drugs, which are usually counterfeit. A lot of times they might, it could be, again, with the anti-aging products, it could be the same thing. They could be harmful for you. It could be one pill disguised as a different pill that you're actually thinking that you're taking, and it could interact with your health conditions or with your other medications in a negative way. So just be careful when you're trying to find prescription medicine that you need a little bit cheaper online. Funerals. Okay, so there's two types of scams here that go along with funerals. So in one funeral scheme, a scammer will use obituaries to find out information about a deceased person in attempt to extort money from the family members or the grieving spouses. So they'll claim that the deceased person has an outstanding debt and it must be paid immediately. And usually the person is in such a vulnerable state, the spouse or the relative is in such a vulnerable state that they're more likely to pay that fraudulent debt without checking into it first. In another scheme, A dishonest funeral directors might try to deceive a senior by capitalizing on their unfamiliarity with the funeral costs and trying to sell you unnecessary services, such as a casket when you know that the deceased is going to be cremated. That's a very basic one, and something that I think all of us could understand that we don't need. However, it's just an example for you. Okay. So with COVID-19, I'm sorry, let me back up. Did anybody have any questions specifically about my 2 slides regarding scams targeting seniors?
Oh, I have been I have been a victim of the Cooper family.
Of the what? I'm sorry, Ann.
The Cooper, the driveway.
Oh, you are? You have been?
A long time ago, this Cooper guy, it wasn't Rodney, but it was a Cooper. I have a file someplace.
Yeah.
And he paved my driveway at great expense, and then came around every year, anytime he saw me outside, wanting to, you know, redo things. And I found out when they replaced the water main last year, they told me that the driveway was only, I don't know, 2 inches thick, and it was supposed to be 4 inches. And
oh, I'm sorry, Ann. So the Coopers, the reason why I say Rodney Cooper or anybody with the last name of Cooper, and again, I'm not trying to say that everybody with the last name of Cooper is a bad person.
Well, this reputation now.
But what the Coopers do is when one of them starts getting into too much trouble, they'll move their company onto the next person. So Rodney Cooper happens to be the son. I believe there's a Theodore Cooper that was also in trouble. There was a Rodney Cooper Sr. There's some other Coopers that they all do the same. It's all a paving scam for them though. Always a paving scam.
Yeah, I mean, he did give me a driveway, but it was substandard and at huge expense.
Right, exactly. I'm sorry about that, Ann.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions based on those 2 slides that we went through? Okay. So I'll move on to the scams related to COVID-19. This is a hot topic right now, coronavirus and the kind of stay-at-home orders have really generated a lot of new scams for sneaky scammers. So there are a few big ones here. Vaccine related scams and fake vaccine cards are 2 of them. I want to throw this out here. So the COVID-19 vaccine is not currently available to the general population in New York. There's a complete list of groups that are eligible for COVID-19 vaccine, and that's at the New York State Department of Health's website. That's where you can go and see who's eligible for the vaccination and who's not yet. Consumers, so you guys are, if you're promised an early vaccine and you're not yet on that list, just please be aware that it might be a scam. Also, while there is a health emergency crisis going on, which there is one right now, the vaccine does not cost any money. Okay, so if somebody is offering to give you a vaccine, but it's going to cost some money, that's likely a scam. What else here? Anybody calling with offers of a vaccine, please do not give out your social security number, your personal credit card, your bank account information. Again, the vaccine is currently available at no cost, whether you have insurance or not, because there is a healthcare crisis going on. So nobody should be charged any kind of out-of-pocket expense. And no one can pay to put their name on a list to get the vaccine or get into a vaccine clinical trial. That does not exist. So that would also be a scam. With fake vaccination cards, a lot of people are under the impression that either they will be or they currently are, they need to be vaccinated in order to do something like travel or get into a concert or a restaurant or something like that. So some people will are trying to scam others by selling fake vaccination cards to say like, hey, look, you can show that you've been vaccinated, even though you really haven't gotten the vaccine, by just buying this card. A lot of times the personal information that people give for the fake vaccination cards, even though they think that they're benefiting from them, will lead to identity theft. There's also phony COVID-19 cures. Some people have marketed a range of products with false claims that they can prevent, cure, or treat COVID-19. You should not be spending your money on these products. They do not work. The phony products are sold like there's a range of items, silver products, toothpaste, dietary supplements, herbal blends. People are all marketing these to try to say that they either cure or prevent COVID-19, and that is just not the case. Okay, price gouging is another one. So you're warned, please pay attention to the prices that are charged on goods and services that are vital to your health and safety or welfare, including like toilet paper, hand sanitizer, basic medical supplies, basic food items. So price gouging, there is a statute in New York that prohibits selling these goods and services during periods of abnormal market disruption for an unconsciously excessive price. If you find that there is somebody that is price gouging, you should contact the Attorney General's office and file a complaint. So health clubs, you should know your rights if you are joined, if you have joined any kind of health club, gym membership, anything like that. So New York's health club law authorizes gym members to cancel their membership under certain circumstances, including after the services are no longer available or substantially available as provided in the contract because of the gym's permanent discontinuance of operation or substantial change in operation. So all that's required for that is the gym owners to provide monetary refunds, not credits, within 15 days of your cancellation. We also have a huge rise in puppy scams. This really could be any animal, but we see it typically with puppies. There is an increased demand for pets right now, I think largely because a lot of people are working from home more and more. So, you know, we've seen this in the past. However, again, it's becoming very, very popular. So what will happen is a lot of times these criminals will pretend to be breeders of puppies. They will find a fake picture of puppies or a real picture that doesn't belong to them online of a certain type of breed of puppy. They will say, hey, I have this litter coming. It's a, I don't know, $200, $300, $400 deposit, no refund for the litter if you want a puppy and if you're accepted. They'll pretend to go through like maybe a quick application process. They'll get your money and then you'll never hear from them again. The email won't be used anymore. The phone number won't be used anymore. You won't ever see your money again. There are such things also as a different type of puppy scam. So for instance, a few weeks ago in our office, we got a complaint that these people wanted to buy 2 puppies. They met the person in a parking lot, like of a McDonald's or something like that. They saw the puppies. They then gave the money for the deposit of the 2 puppies. They then bought the puppies at full price. They received the puppies, and within 2 or 3 weeks, the puppies passed away from severe medical conditions. So the other thing that you really want to be aware of is that breeders You know, shelters, Humane Society, these places, they already do this, but breeders will often give you a certification or a health check with the, or some kind of guarantee with the animal. So you want to make sure that that also exists. Okay, so in order to protect yourself from like puppy scams, what you want to do is use a credit card to make a purchase and avoid wiring money or giving cash so that you can track it later on. Something that is not refundable or not traceable. Conduct a thorough internet search of the breeder before you're purchasing the puppy to ensure that the email address is not being used for the same thing in multiple different websites or multiple different areas. Make sure that you visit the breeder in person, of course, using social distancing. If you're unable to do so, maybe try to video chat with them. But again, be aware of that second situation that I talked to you about where we got that complaint a few weeks ago. So also make sure that there's some kind of a health certification, or if they don't and they say, nope, vet, you know, the vet fees are on you. Okay, then I'll pay for a vet fee if we can take the animal right now to a vet to get checked out. Okay, also keep in mind that shipping any young animal long distances, especially in air cargo, it carries a great deal of risk. So sometimes a lot of people will try to charge extra for shipping an animal, and just kind of be aware to the humane nature of that. Okay, QR codes is the next thing. So a QR code is not what you see like in a grocery store. It's not a barcode or anything like that. On products. A QR code is called a quick reference code. And the thefts using quick reference codes are skyrocketing as it becomes a more and more popular thing to use, especially with social distancing and contactless things. So typically what you'll see this in is in restaurants. Instead of giving you a paper menu, unless you request the paper menu, what you'll have is some kind of a little code, either like on a little stand or right on the table on a sticker. And you take your smartphone and you put your camera on and you put your camera to the QR code and it'll scan it and bring up a menu. So the basic scam would be by printing a malicious QR code and sticking that either over top of one at a restaurant or just at any public area where they think that somebody might be willing to try it and see what it leads to. In a more complex scam, the QR codes can be used to make payments for goods or to execute money transfers because they get into your device and then into your personal data. So what can a QR code scam do? It can add contacts to your contact list that you don't want there. It can connect a device to a malicious network. It can send a text message to one or all of your contacts in your address book. It can complete a telephone call to a telephone number that imposes charges on the calling phone. It can send a payment to a destination where it cannot be recovered. So to protect yourself from this, do not scan a randomly found QR code. If you're at the park and you happen to see a QR code, probably don't scan it. It might be a scam. Also, if they're looking for a password or a login, once you scan a QR code, please be suspicious and get out of it. Do not scan a QR code received in emails unless you know they are legitimate. Do not scan QR codes if it's printed on a label or applied atop on another QR code. Make sure you ask like a staff member at a restaurant or something to verify its legitimacy first. So sometimes businesses will want to come out with a new menu, for instance, right? So instead of taking the old QR code off of their table, which is on a sticker, they just put the new one right on top of it. And that could very well be legitimate, but you want to make sure before you start scanning that. Okay, so other scams that seniors should be aware of that typically don't necessarily target seniors just directly. However, all age groups are targeted, so seniors included. So the Nigerian scam is one of them. It's called a Nigerian scam because that's kind of where it originated. It is quite old, this scam. However, it still exists because it still works. So let's talk about that. So this scam usually involves a very long and detailed email, more likely than not email from here on out in this day. Oftentimes from somebody claiming they have plenty of money that they just cannot access. They might tell you that they're from a country that recently has been in the news, or that there's a civil war, and that means that their money is tied up. Or they'll tell you that they're due a large inheritance, but there are legal issues preventing them from gaining access to those funds. So what they'll do is they'll ask you for short-term financial help, promising you a lot of money in return. These scams play on people's greed, oftentimes, giving a small amount of money to get a large amount of money in return, or people's desire to be a hero. Again, it's perhaps one of the longest running internet frauds. In 2018, Americans lost $703,000. And then over the past 3 years, from 2017 to 2019, so in a 3-year period, the Nigerian letter style claims have cost victims an average of $2,133. We also have online purchase scams. So these scams are among the most highly reported and successful scams documented. What happens is people will put things online for sale, like Craigslist. They'll use platforms like Craigslist, eBay, Etsy, other websites that directly contact sellers and buyers. And at its most basic level, the scammer will collect the payment from the buyer, you being the buyer, and never send any product in return to you. Conversely, sometimes scammers will pay for the items with a bogus check in order to get a refund for accidental overpayment. So they'll give you a check. If you put something on Craigslist for $100, they'll give you a check for $200 and say, oh my gosh, I thought it was listed for $200. Can you just issue me a refund for the $100? Before you'll go into your bank, you'll get the $100 out, write them a check or whatever. And oftentimes this happens very quickly before you're able to notice, or before the bank notices that it was a fake check, and then you're out the money that was overpaid. We also have fake tech support scams. These typically take the form of an advertisement in email or a pop-up that warns you that your computer is infected with a bug or a virus. Once you engage by clicking on it, then scammers will pretend to be an IT professional, and they will badger you basically to hand over money and support for phony tech support. There was a scam a few years ago that I remember where a pop-up would come onto your computer saying like, this is the IRS and your computer is locked and you have to pay this amount of money in order to get your computer unlocked or something like that. That is one of these scams. Fake checks or money orders. This is a scheme that relies on scammers sending you a fake check, getting you to deposit, and then asking for some money back as a supposed overpayment, just like in that direct sales, the online purchase scams, in that example that I gave. They're hoping that your banks don't notice the check, that the check is fake until it's too late. So again, oftentimes with many of these scams, they're looking for immediate responses. They're looking for immediate payment, immediate work on your end to write them out a check for the overpayment. And if that's the case, then be a little cautious of that, because chances are your bank's going to realize that that's kind of a fake check, phony check, and it'll bounce. And then you'll be out the money that you had to give the scammer for the overpayment. Phony sweepstakes, lotteries, and prizes. In this scam, people will trick victims into believing that you have won a sweepstakes or a lottery, but you first must pay a fee up front in order to claim your prize. A lot of times this scam will impact people who report living with financial insecurity. There are also fake tax collection scams and IRS scams. In fake tax collection scams, people will pose as government tax collection agents, and they'll threaten immediate arrest or other scare tactics in order to convince you to pay. Sometimes they'll tell you to put money onto a gift card and make payment in that way. If somebody is ever, whether it's a government agent, a fake government agency, somebody that's posing as a government agency, or any type of scam, if somebody is asking you to put money onto a gift card and give your payment in that route, you should be very suspicious that this is a scam. Particularly somebody that's purporting to be from the government, because the government doesn't do that. IRS scams, these people will send a notice through email, mail, or telephone calls in attempt to gain access to your tax or banking information to steal your identity and your money. More than 2.4 million Americans were targeted by people pretending to be from the IRS. That happens each year. Generally, again, people are threatened with arrest if they don't pay. What you should do is you should immediately hang up, call the IRS yourself if you have any doubts. If the unwanted call is an IRS scam, file your complaint with the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, and I can provide that information, the phone number and the website where you could file that complaint to. Social Security scams. People will pose as benefit investigators, claiming that you have a problem with your Social Security account. At times they'll tell you your number has been suspended to give you a false number to call in order to resolve the issue. And then you call or you give them your number, and then they'll take your money or redirect your money. Then you just have your telephone scams. Scammers will try to steal money and personal information through phone calls, text messages, or robocalls. And we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about robocalls and robotexts in just a little bit here. They can convince you that you're getting free products or opportunities to invest your money or even get more. These people will often make threats of jail or lawsuits if the fee isn't paid. Unfortunately, scam calls are increasing, and there were about $19.7 billion in losses in 2020 because of telephone scams. Charity scams is also a big one. These people will take advantage of disasters and tragedies by pretending to be legitimate charities. They create fake organizations mimicking real ones to entice you that are all affected emotionally or just very giving people. There are two websites that rate not-for-profits or nonprofits based on their effectiveness and financial condition. But these can also be helpful websites for you as a consumer to evaluate whether the solicitation that you're getting from of a charitable donation is actually a legitimate one. Those two websites are Charity Navigator and GuideStar. We also have romance scams. I think I told you in the very beginning that on free dating websites, there are numerous, there is a large amount of scams and fake profiles on free dating websites. The number is a lot lower for the paid dating websites, but they still exist on those ones as well. So you have to be careful when you're on a dating website. To be honest, it can be anybody. It can be somebody that lives close to you or somebody posing as a doctor or a military officer stationed far away. Just be careful and understand the signs of the situations when you or your loved one is encountering them. For instance, somebody that is professing their love very, very quickly, oftentimes that is a scam. And then what happens is they try to catch you emotionally. They try to engage with you emotionally so that you feel emotionally tied to them. And then they try to take advantage of you financially by saying, oh, I'm in desperate times and I just need a little bit of money to get through this, or I need money to buy groceries or whatever it may be. And then lastly, we have investment scams. So what people will try to do here is they'll ask you to invest your money for to earn a higher return without financial risk. So these companies will then request you to bring in more and more people to do the same thing. Often they need a constant flow of new people investing in order to make this, to make the money. These are Ponzi or pyramid schemes. So just be careful of those. Are there any questions or concerns about this page? Okay.
Stephanie, I had a question.
Sure.
You're in the Binghamton office.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm trying to get the hierarchy figured out we've got county attorney offices. Where are the state attorney general offices, and when do we go to them directly first? And I finally looked at a map of the federal district courts recently in New York State, and it cracked me up. I couldn't believe the way it was divided. That Eastern is just the eastern part of Long Island, but we're in the northern section. But that's another question. I don't think that you often would go directly to a federal court. But what do we do when we, if we want to report things or check on things? Do we start with our local county person, or do we go to the nearest state attorney general office?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I actually, at the end, I have a slide about that. However, what I'll do is I can talk to you a little bit about that now. So there's a few things here, okay? It's kind of, I don't want to say that you can't. You can go to your attorney general's office and you can file a report, right? Because what we have in the attorney general's office are consumer complaint representatives. And so in our office, his name is Brian, and he's super nice. And what he'll do is he'll take your complaint and he'll either mediate it with the company directly. So say, for instance, you say, I am having a really hard time with Spectrum right now. They are charging me, they are charging me extra, and I've kept calling them, and I've been on the phone with them a million times, and there is no answer. I'm not getting anything from them. And I can't resolve the issue. I want to file a complaint. So sometimes that doesn't warrant an attorney within the attorney general's office to get involved. However, what it will do is maybe it will either tell Brian or another consumer frauds rep within a different regional office of the attorney general's office to either mediate the complaint himself. So what he'll do is he'll call Spectrum and he'll say, hey, I'm with the attorney general's office and we got this complaint, so we should get this handled and taken care of. So that might assist. Or what will happen is he'll say, you know what, Ann, I'm sorry, this complaint shouldn't come to us, but I will direct your complaint and forward it on to the correct agency where it should go. And he will do that for you. And then he'll tell you where he forwarded it to. So that's one way. But what I'd like to tell you is that it's more a case-by-case analysis. So for instance, if we're talking about a home improvement scam where somebody came to your door and they collected $10,000 from you for something, the first thing that I would do is report that to your local law enforcement. I would call your sheriff's office and I would say, hey, I got scammed out all this money, because it's a crime, right? And a lot of times things are crimes, such as somebody, the Nigerian scam, right? Although your local law enforcement agency is not going to be really equipped to handle that kind of investigation, because they're going to have to stop as soon as they realize that there's no way we can identify the person that actually scammed that money from you, right? So at that point, it turns into maybe my local law enforcement, even though you should probably report it and you could report it to multiple different agencies, maybe they're not the best. Maybe I shouldn't just stop there. Maybe I should also report it to the Attorney General's office. And you're right. A lot of times you won't be reporting, you won't go up to the federal side of it. A lot of times you'll stop at the Attorney General's office. So on the local law enforcement side of it, you have your sheriff's office, your county sheriff's office, you have your New York State Police that has all the state jurisdiction. And then you have, you guys are in Tompkins County, right? So you guys would also have local police agencies too. Like for instance, in Broome County, we have like, I don't know, 6 or 7 local police agencies, in addition to the state police that also has jurisdiction and our county sheriff's office. So you can report to local law enforcement. You could also report directly to your district attorney's office. That would be also on the local level. Even though they're a state prosecution office, they're run by the counties. So each one is run by the counties. And then if you wanted to take it up higher, then you would go to the state attorney general's office.
And which is the closest one to us? Are we in a district that Binghamton covers?
Yes.
We know where we are because we're
so Binghamton would qualify. The Binghamton Regional Office is your Attorney General's office, because we cover 9 counties for our office, and Tompkins County is one of them.
Good. Thank you. We never know if we're Central, Finger Lakes.
Oh, I know. I know. Are there any other questions?
I know now it was a Gary Cooper. He'd be an older guy now.
Yep, that family will just keep going with that scam. I'm positive of it.
I can tell a real funny one, how my father got out of being scammed. My mother died, and even before the funeral, he got a call from a tombstone lady, and her pitch was, get tombstone before the spring prices go up. And my father, who was pretty old by that time, sat there and calmly said, well, that stone will be there for a long time, and I don't think that a few months will make any difference in eternity.
Oh, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm going through all of the scams that are very popular right now. However, there is so many out there. It is just impossible to give you examples of all of them, or to be able to predict all of them that come. So you just kind of want to be aware. And part of that, I should tell you, is because of this. It's not necessarily super new, but as technology advances, people are getting more creative. Scammers are getting more creative. And, they don't really have to be all that successful because they're not really doing anything, right? They spend very little amount of time or money sending out mass emails or mass ads or mass whatever, trying to get people to engage. And if they can just get a few people to engage, they will continue that scam because it worked, no matter what amount of money they're getting, right? So a lot of trouble that we're having now is with phishing websites, emails, and ads. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that for a minute. So phishing is just a general term. It's a catch-all term, and it's used to describe scammers who pretend to be a trusted person. I say that in a general sense because it can also be a trusted website. It can also be a trusted ad or brand or something that you're familiar with and that you like to use or like to go to that website or something along those lines. And what they'll try to do is they'll try to trick you into sharing your private information. So the ways that people phish are through websites, emails, and ads. And despite their low rate of success, phishing scams are among the most frequently reported types of scams, and 90% of data breaches come from phishing. So some people do a really good job at this. And I'll be honest, I have fallen victim to phishing emails a few times. And then my IT either county or state IT calls me up and says, hey, you clicked on something that, that was a scam. And I said, oh, whoops. Okay. So phishing websites. These are like spoof sites and they're posing as real company websites in order to attempt to trick you into entering your details. These sites will often look legitimate. They can be hard to spot, very, very hard to spot. And they, so what you should be doing is checking the web address at the bar, at the top bar there, for any kind of spelling errors, mistakes, for missing forward slashes or other details that just don't seem right. If you're unsure, you can do a quick Google search for the company to see what their official site and what it pops up to see if it looks the same and if there's any differences. And when in doubt, enter an incorrect password and username and see what happens. Okay. So if you type something in and it's incorrect and you know it's incorrect, but it still kind of lets you in, then you know that it's a scam. We also have phishing emails, and those are crafted to appear as if they've been sent from some legitimate organization or a known individual. These emails will often attempt to entice users to click on a link that will take you to a fraudulent website that appears to be legitimate. Sometimes that link will just gain access to your computer and to your data. And sometimes they'll ask you to push in your personal information. So again, when in doubt, click in something that's incorrect, type in something that's incorrect and see what happens. Let me give you an example of a phishing email. So I'll give you a couple of examples because they all personally happened to me. So, I was working at our DA's office in Broome County, and I got an email to my work email from Amazon. And it said like something along the lines of, hey, there was a problem with your order, so click here or whatever. And I was like, oh, I guess there was a problem with my order. And I clicked on it. And it was our county IT that set up this fake phishing thing to see how many people would click on it. And my coworkers all said, well, do you have your work email set up to your Amazon account? And I said, no. I don't. And they said, well, why would you think that you should click on that? Or didn't you think that was weird? And I was like, no, I didn't even think anything about it. So just be aware, because those emails look extremely legitimate. They look very real. A lot of times what you can do is when you go to if there's a link within that website, hover over it with your cursor. And a lot of times, if it shows up as something different, then it's a scam. It's not the real website. If it doesn't say www.amazon.com, and that's a scam because it'll take you to something different. Okay, so I worked very closely with some people from FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office when I was over at the DA's office. And somewhere along the way, somebody got hacked. One of our email exchanges got hacked. And so what happened was, all of a sudden, everybody that I've ever emailed from my work email was getting an email from me, but not really from me, but it appeared to be from me, saying like, hey, regarding this subject matter, which was a real subject matter because they got it from an email that they hacked. It appears that we need to do a little bit more work on this investigation. Can you please contact me by clicking here or by calling this number or whatever? And then the signature line had my name on it. And it said, I think it said something like Stephanie Milks, Department of Commerce. And I'm like, what? The Department of Commerce? Like, I don't work for the Department of Commerce. So clearly it was fake and it was a scam. And what they're trying to get you to do is click on a link to either view materials or contact you in some way. But really, it's a scam to try to get data breaches, to try to get data that's in your computer, or to get you to type in personal information. Now, with those kind of emails, because our emails are smart, Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, whatever other emails we all have, they're smart. And what they'll do is, if you get emails from somebody a lot, Like say Beverly and I say we email back and forth all the time. It'll say just generally pop up, not with her email address, but it'll say Beverly Stockard, right? It won't say beverly.stockard@gmail.com or whatever her email is. So what was happening with when people hack your emails and the content of your emails, what you should do is you should first look at the email address, not the name that it's appearing to come from, but the email address that it's appearing to come from. Because like for instance, in my situation, people were getting emails from me and it said in their email inbox, Stephanie Milks, right? But then when they click on it and they see the to and from, in the to, it was a completely different email. So there again is an indication that it is fraud and it is a scam. Okay. So phishing emails will often contain messages to tell you a story, to try to get you to click on something by opening an attachment. They'll say they've noticed some suspicious activity or login attempts. They'll claim that there's a problem with your account or that they've suspended your account. They'll say that you have to confirm some kind of personal information. They'll include a fake invoice. They'll want you to click on a link to make a payment. They'll say that you're eligible to register for a government refund, or they'll send you a coupon for free stuff. So just be careful with those kind of websites. Protect yourself. So before clicking on these phishing things, whether it be in an ad that just pops up, whether it be in an email or a website, always check and study the URL. That's that barcode up at, or that's the website up at the top that you're clicking in, like www.amazon.com. That's the URL. Before you click on it, study it. Whenever somebody sends you a link via email or social media or any platform for that matter, take the time to study the URL before you click. You don't have to be an expert to spot the suspicious URL. You just have to look for some red flags. Generally, there are going to be misspellings and other things that look very suspicious or added words, something like that. You can also, again, hover over the hyperlinked text before you actually click on it and see what the URL that appears, what pops up. Because honestly, you can rename a URL anything when you're hyperlinking it into an email or into a presentation, as I'll show you in the very last slide that I have. Okay, so after you click, don't panic. Don't freak out if you've clicked on something that you think, oh no, I just clicked on that and that's a scam. Check and study the URL before you're logging in any information. Let's say you accidentally clicked on a phishing link. You should, again, check to see what the red flags are on the URL. If the fake page displays a lot of meaningless characters in the address bar or includes extra strings of text, you should see for misspellings. Scan the page for a trust seal. Most legitimate sites take advantage of trust seals, small badges issued by third-party companies to show how safe their site is. So pay attention for something like that. Scan the page for any indicators of the trust seal and make sure that it is a renowned online security provider that is providing that trust seal. Check the website address. Check it that it isn't a homeograph. So again, hover over it, or copy the URL and paste it into a new page, a new like link, right? You're going to paste it in there and see what comes up. Okay. Your email spam filters may keep out a lot of your phishing website or phishing emails and attempts out of your inbox, but scammers are always trying to outsmart those. So it's a good idea to add extra layers of protection. You can do the following. You can protect your computer by using security software and set that computer software to update automatically so that it can deal with any new security threats. You can protect your mobile phone by setting software to update automatically instead of just doing it when you want, because these updates could give you critical protection against security threats. You can protect your accounts by using a multi-factor authentication. So you should do that whenever possible. And that just requires extra security by requiring 2 or more credentials to log into your account. So that's like, if you type in your username and password, and then it says, hey, we texted a code to your phone at such and such a number. And then you have to enter in that code. That's a multi-factor authentication. You can also protect your data by backing it up. So if you back up your data, make sure that these backups aren't connected to your home network. So you can copy your computer files to an external hard drive or a cloud storage. And you can also back up your phone data as well. Okay. Robocalls and robotexts. This is crazy. In 2019, experts projected that 45% of all mobile phone traffic would be robocalls or scams. It is estimated that 10.4 million robocalls are being delivered to New Yorkers daily. Have you guys gotten that phone call yet? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day that says that your car warranty needs to be updated?
Oh, yeah.
At least 5 times a day, at least.
Frequently.
So here's what happens, okay? Try your hardest not to answer calls where you don't know who's calling you, because when you pick up, the mere fact that you're picking up and saying hello, that shows them that it's a live person and they're going to keep calling you. You know, another interesting fact is that if you do fall victim to a scam, by just engaging, I'm not saying that you have to lose money, by just engaging with somebody, such as when my godparents fell victim to that, they engaged with that grandparent scam, right? Your information will get sold by that scammer to other scammers, and you will more likely get a lot more calls by just engaging with somebody that is scamming, trying to scam you. Okay. So robocalls are calls made from an auto dialer that contain a message made with a pre-recorded or artificial voice. The do not call rules only apply to telemarketing calls, and we're going to talk about the do not call rules. Advances in technology have unfortunately allowed illegal and spoofed robocalls to be made from anywhere in the world, and it's done cheaply and more easy than ever. In 2019 alone, over 58 billion scam calls and robocalls cost Americans more than $10 billion. Robocalls can technically refer to any automated dialing system, whether it's used to deliver a pre-recorded message from your pharmacy saying that your prescription is ready for pickup, or to pitch donations from a charity. But the term has more or less become synonymous with scammers who use techniques like automated dialing and spoofing, deliberately disguising the phone number that a call originates from to match your area code, for example, to trick recipients into making payments to criminals, or disclosing your personal information like a social security number or usernames and passwords. So the problem is that the FCC or whoever else, the government in general, we can't just stop all robocalls and robotexts, because there are certain legitimate ones that exist, right? For instance, when your pharmacy calls you saying that you have, or texts you saying that you have a prescription ready, that's a legitimate robocall and robotext, something that you want, and that's a service that they provide. Or else, how else are you going to get notification that your prescription is ready? Just as an example. So instead, we have to try to figure out ways to fix this. But again, it is becoming harder and harder for people to stop these robocalls and robotexts. So you, as a consumer, have to protect yourself. Okay, So FCC rules ban text messages sent to a mobile phone using an auto dialer unless you previously gave consent to receive that message or the message is sent for an emergency purpose, such as a child is missing, so you get Amber Alert, right? Or something like that. The ban even applies if you have not placed your mobile phone number on a national do not call list. All right. So the do not call rules only apply to telemarketing calls. They follow, so the following types of calls are ones that don't have to comply with the do not call requests. Tax exempt, not-for-profit organizations, political organizations, pollsters and survey takers, not making sales calls, religious organizations, telemarketers to whom you have given prior written consent to call you. All those people are allowed to call you even if you're on the do not call list. The FCC rules ban text messages, again, sent to you unless you give a written consent or if it's for emergency purposes. For commercial texts, your consent must be in writing. For non-commercial, informational texts, such as those sent by on behalf of like a tax exempt not-for-profit organization or for political purposes or non-commercial purposes, such as like school closings or something like that, your consent may be oral. It doesn't have to be written. So we have a number of ways that you should avoid or that you can do, a number of things that you can do to avoid robocalls and robotexts. You can register your numbers to a national do not call list at no cost. I put specifically, I try my hardest not to make these PowerPoint presentations too wordy on each page, but I really wanted to make sure that the phone number and the website was here for you. So to write down if you'd like it. So that do not call list, you call 1-888-382-1222 or 1-866-290-4236. You must call from the phone number that you wish to register on the do not call list. You can also register and add your personal wireless phone number to a do not call list at donotcall.gov. That's a website. And if you're using a landline service, you may have access to anonymous call rejection. And to activate it, you want to dial *77. You'll hear 3 beeps. You have to call from that landline though. Then you hang up and any call that hides its number will be rejected. It's important to note that telemarketers have 31 days after you register to remove your telephone number from their lists. You can verify your registration with the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, on www.donotcall.gov or by calling that first number listed, the 1-888-382-1222 number. You have to call from the number that you have, that you want registered or that you have registered. Your registration is permanent, so it does not expire. And to remove it from that list, you have to call that same first number. If you have a complaint about a telephone fraud or telemarketers who have disregarded, who have not paid attention to the do not call list, to file the complaint, you can file it at the FTC, which is ftccomplaintassistant.gov. You can tell any unwanted telemarketer when they call and you answer to put you on their do not call list. Federal law requires most telemarketers to keep these lists and prohibits them from calling you at least for 10 years. And you can also contact the Attorney General's office if you believe that a telemarketer has called you in violation of their do not call list. Okay. Do not answer calls from unknown numbers. If you answer a call, hang up immediately when you realize that it's a scam. If you answer the phone and the caller, who is often recording, asks you to hit a button to stop receiving the calls, don't hit a button, just hang up. Often, scammers will use these tricks to identify targets that are live people. They're trying to see if there's somebody that actually answers and engages on the other line. So once they know that the number is active, you may be targeted for more calls in the future. So don't click on that button, just hang up. Okay. Make sure you watch what you say. Take extra precautions with unknown callers. Don't engage with robocallers. Don't give out personally identifiable information or send money to a third party without verifying its authenticity of the caller. You can double check the authenticity of the caller by looking up their phone number on their website or in a phone book or by calling them directly. Do not respond to any questions, especially with those that can be answered yes. There was a scam a while ago, and I'm sure it'll resurface sometime in the near future if it's not already resurfacing, where they would get people, live people, to just say yes. So they would say, "Hi, is this Stephanie Milks?" And I would say yes. And they would record that. And then they would use my yes as a voice authenticator to gain access to getting personal information or identity theft. They would open up credit cards in my name or something along those lines. Never give out your personal information, such as account numbers, social security numbers, your mother's maiden name, passwords, or any other identifying information in response to unexpected calls or calls that you think are suspicious. If you get an inquiry from someone who says that they represent a company or a government agency, hang up and call the company to verify the authenticity of that request. Before giving your phone number to any business, please be sure to read their privacy policy ahead of time. Some policies may imply that by you giving your phone number to them, you're agreeing to business terms and conditions, and that therefore you've given them permission to contact you or to share your contact information with others. So that would be your written consent. So make sure you look at the business's privacy policy before you start handing out your information, like your phone number. Call the phone number on the account statement, in the phone book, or the company or government agency's website to verify the authenticity of the request. Don't just take the phone number that they give you as the phone number as truth of the representative of that company or government agency. You will usually get a written statement in the mail before you get a phone call from a legitimate source, particularly if the caller is asking for payment. Be careful about giving out your mobile phone number or any other personal information. Read through commercial web forms and check for privacy policies when you're submitting your mobile number to any customer website. But we have more tips for you. Use caution if you are being pressured for information immediately. Remember, a lot of these people that engage in scams are looking for you to feel pressured, you to feel emotionally charged, you to feel like you have to pay, you to feel threatened, like if you don't pay, something bad's going to happen. They're looking for an immediate response from you, an immediate payment. So if you're feeling pressured to do something immediately or to give over information immediately, take a breath. It's probably a scam. Hang up. Don't engage. Engage your device features and talk to your phone company. So what do I mean by engaging your device features? Use the features that are built into your phone to block unwanted calls. Learn more by checking out your iOS and your Android by visiting your device manufacturer's websites, or call your mobile device provider, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T. Call them up and ask them what kind of built-in features that they have and that they can provide to you for no additional cost, and how you would go about setting that up and making sure that it's activated or engaged on your phone. Talk to your phone company about call blocking tools that they may have, and check into applications or apps that you can download onto your mobile device to block unwanted calls. If you use a robocall blocking technology already, it often helps to let that company know which numbers are producing the unwanted calls so they can help you block those in the future, and they can help others block those as well. Several mobile service providers allow you to block the sender by forwarding unwanted text to a certain number. So this has to do specifically with robo-texts. For instance, a few weeks ago, I got a text message that said something along the lines of, it is now required that all New York State drivers have to register or type in this information to this website. It is new law or something like that. And it gave you like a little link to click on, and that was via text message. And it took me a minute. I read it a few times and I thought, no, this is definitely a scam, because I would have gotten something in letter form from the DMV to tell me that there's some kind of new law out there that I didn't really know about that I have to do. So what you can do is, if you get those spam text messages, you can forward that unwanted text to this phone number. It's actually just spam. So it's 7726 or spam. If you forward it, it's a free text exchange, so it won't cost you any money, and it will report that spam number, and you will receive a response thanking you for reporting it. We talked a lot about how you should read through your commercial web forms and check the privacy policy when submitting your mobile phone number to make sure that you're not giving your written consent for either them to contact you or solicit you, or for them to give out your information to other people, basically sell it to third parties. But just so you know, you should be able to opt out of receiving, whether it's text messages or phone calls from these companies. You may have to check or uncheck pre-selected boxes to do that. It's kind of like,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question.
Sure.
Wait a minute. Go. Forgot it.
No problem. So it's, I can give you an example of this. If you go onto a website and you're trying to buy something, not like Amazon or anything like that, but like a very specific website. So what's something that I just ordered recently? If you go onto like Ulta, which is a makeup website, okay, and you're going to purchase something, at the end, once you're starting to put in your information to pay, it has these pre-marked boxes that are checked that says that by checking this box, and it's already pre-marked and pre-checked, you're agreeing to receive emails about our new promotions that are out there to your email address. So just be aware of things like that. You might have to uncheck those boxes in order to not get those unsolicited or those solicitations from businesses, whether they're legitimate businesses or not. Consumers can file complaints with the FCC by going to fcc.gov/complaints. And you should choose the phone form for unwanted call issues for complaints involving unwanted calls, including if your number is being spoofed, blocked, or labeled, by going to the fcc.gov/complaints form or website that's listed there on the screen.
I got my question.
Sure.
If you try to subscribe to an email solicitation, and they ask you for the email that you're trying to unsubscribe from, is that legitimate, or do you just get more?
That's a good question, Anne. So usually when you try to unsubscribe to something, it usually doesn't ask you to put your email back in there. It usually, you have to go to one of these solicitation emails that you got, like for instance, from that makeup company that I was just talking about. And at the very bottom, it says to unsubscribe to these, please click here, right? And then you click on it.
And then they ask you what email you're asking them to take, not,
Yeah,
that.
you know, it's been a while since I've done that, and so I'm not quite sure, but I would say that if you're looking at a legitimate website, such as Ulta, that makeup company that I was just talking about, right? If you're not sure about the website in general, or the email of the business that they're purporting to be, I would say don't put in your email address or your personal information. But if
Yeah,
you
they
know
should
that,
know that if they're legitimate.
yeah, if they are legitimate, then I don't really see that much of a problem with it.
But most of the ones that I've tried to unsubscribe to for my use.
Yeah, and that could be that it's a specific form that they're looking specifically for. They don't just take from, like when you clicked on that or that link, it didn't register that it came from your email to that link. So they need you to re-put that in. So that could be why. All right. So tips to avoid falling victim to scams in general. Share your stories that you hear or something that's happened to you with your friends and family. The only way that everybody's going to know about all the scams out there is if we all talk about them and we all talk about what's going on. Stay educated on the newest types of scams. Look at the news, national news, local news. Look at the social media websites for the police departments, the DA's office, the AG's office. Go to their websites. A lot of times there are postings about specific scams that are out there that are very popular at any given time, and things to be aware of. If it sounds too good to be true, it likely is. Again, I'll say it again. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Those sweepstakes scams, the give me $50 and I can guarantee you $1,000 in return scams. Again, sounds too good to be true. It is. It's a scam. Keep your personal information private on social media. This is a really important one because people will learn a lot about you, and either one, be able to identity theft, be able to guess your passwords and things like that by getting into your getting into your protected information or websites or banking information, things like that. Or they'll use it to be able to scam you in a different way, such as the romance scams or the charity scams or something along those lines. Shred your needless papers and documents and keep others in a secure place. That's because even though we have these huge advances in technology and scams are becoming extremely popular via technology, via websites, ads, emails, a lot of scams happen in person. A lot of people go through garbage and find, personal information that way. And they then conduct identity theft and take your identity and open up new credit cards or steal money from your banks or the like. Do not click on links or download things that you see in unsolicited emails or text messages. Take the time to evaluate whether a solicitation is legitimate. Do not give out your personal information over the phone. Unique and robust PINs and passwords. That is a very good one. 0123 or 123456 or something like that. That's still the most common password, and that kills me. Try to set up a two multi-factor authentication for your passwords and for websites that allow that. Run an annual credit report on yourself. This will be huge because it'll tell you whether or not there's something suspicious out there that you didn't know about. And what should we do if we do fall victim to these scams? Number one is a report to your local law enforcement. I'll be honest, if it's somebody from overseas, or they'll never be able to figure out where the person is from, whether they're overseas or not, that scammed you, chances are they're not going to be able to do anything for you. However, it's still important to report it to the local law enforcement because they're able then to put out those reports to the news or on their social media of scams to look out for. So you could be protecting somebody else or you yourself in the future. Again, we have the New York State Police, your county sheriff, your local village or city police department, your DA's office, your attorney general's office. And that should be it for local and state police departments, law enforcement. Call your financial institution. If you paid for something via check or a wire transfer, you might be able to stop the payment depending on how fast you catch on to the fact that it's a scam and call your financial institution. If you think that you've been scammed and you gave out personal information, it is probably important to cancel all of your cards and have the bank or your credit card companies issue new ones to you, just in case. You should also run an antivirus scan on your computer to make sure that there are no data breaches and somebody's not just in your computer all the time. If you accidentally clicked on one of those ads or the phony tech support ads that pop up or something along those lines. Change your passwords on all of your protected websites that you need to make sure that are protected, such as your banking institution. Put a fraud alert on your credit report. This is a big one too, because not only will it tell you if something suspicious is going on, but it'll tell a new credit card company like, hey, there's a fraud alert on this person's on Anne's credit report. So I don't think that I think I might be able to authenticate this a little bit more and verify that it's Anne that actually wants to open this up, or I should just deny it right here and now. And that's huge, because then you don't have to go into the process of trying to fight the charges that were incurred by means of identity theft that you have no control over. Protect your retirement accounts, your social security accounts, and your investment accounts. A lot of people don't remember this. And retain all records of sale, including advertising and written communication. If there is a scam and you fall victim to a scam, retain those records, because that's probably the only way that local law enforcement, or any law enforcement really, has any kind of a lead to go off of to be able to investigate it and do something about it. The Binghamton Regional Office, that is our main number and our fax number, or I'm sorry, our main number, and the state office number is the 1-800 number. And if you are a consumer who is a victim of fraud, you are encouraged to file complaints by completing a form online. Remember when I told you that you can name anything in a hyperlink? This is that. Consumer Frauds and Protection Bureau online complaint form. But if I hover over it, do you guys see that when I hover over it? You see that link that goes there? It's HTTPS, and then a bunch of like letters and numbers. That takes you to that complaint form. However, that's what I'm talking about earlier in the presentation when we talked multiple times about hovering over links. A hyperlink is something that is usually blue and underlined. So if you hover over it with your cursor in an email or wherever, you'll see the actual URL that it will take you to. People can name these anything. So pay attention when it's in emails or in websites. If you just hover over it, it'll tell you where it's going. So if that's at Amazon.com and it doesn't say Amazon.com there, then there's a problem. You can also call 1-800-771-7755 if you're unable to submit a form online and you want to file that complaint. Okay, so that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I got one of those Amazon calls the other day. It said there's a $1,000 and something $1 charge for credit card if you did not make this charge. Click here. So I up and I called my credit card company.
Perfect. Anne, you are the perfect example of what you should be doing. Very good.
Yeah, but I can get taken sometimes too.
I know everybody does. And that's the sad part. It doesn't matter what age you are. I'm telling you, and I give you my personal examples to tell you that, it can happen to anybody. We all fall victim to these types of scams because they're very smart and they look very legitimate.
And I know someone who fell to the grandparent thing a few years for Mythica who did it. And I remember him, and his wife kept saying, I don't know why he was doing that, but at any rate, he sent the money. Grandson in Boston or somewhere in Massachusetts, that was the thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And right before I left the DA's office, we had a guy that came in with his father, and his father got taken for like $60,000. And unfortunately, I know. And unfortunately, there was really nothing that we could do about it. We couldn't figure out where the scammer was from to try to, we didn't have enough leads to go off of to do an investigation to be able to prove that, that he committed this crime, even though we know that a crime was committed. So the number one thing is that the fact that you guys are all on here, the fact that you guys are keeping yourselves up to date and educated and making yourselves aware of these types of things that are out there. I'm not saying that you have to become this super untrustworthy person and don't trust anything that you ever come across or anybody that you ever talk to, but just be aware of the fact that this is out there and be a little bit, maybe ask a few more questions or be a little bit more suspicious, or say, you know what, I'm going to get your name and number and I'm going to call you back, hang up, and then call the agency where they're claiming to be from to make sure that that person is actually employed there and then that phone number goes to that person. Those little things can save you guys a lot of money.
Is your presentation available electronically?
Yeah, so I believe Beverly recorded it, I believe. So it'll be available for you guys. They'll post it somewhere. Otherwise,
it's a PowerPoint. I was thinking of making it so I could read it.
oh, sure. Otherwise, I'm more than happy. Beverly, if you or Cheryl, I can send you guys my PowerPoint. I'm more than happy to do that.
Perfect.
You can distribute it to whoever.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep, not a problem at all.
Stephanie, you were wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
I have a
Thank you,
question,
guys.
Stephanie.
Yep,
I have a question.
sure.
I thought there was going to be some more technology the phone companies were working on to verify that calls were actually coming from the number that they say they were, to cut down on spoofing. Do you know where that stands?
So you know what? I did read about that myself too. I read that there's we're trying to conduct some legislation within, I believe, at least New York State, where we mandate phone companies to do that sort of thing free of charge to the consumer and make it a part of their regular business to protect consumers. Because again, it's in the telephone company's best interest to do this too, because they don't want people to say, you know what? I'm not using Verizon anymore. I'm not using Sprint anymore. I just get way too many of these calls. So it's in their best interest too. I don't believe we're quite there yet though, but I do believe that that the state is working on it, because I did read a bunch of articles on that legislation.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay.
So much information. Thank you so much for that. And I'm glad it was recorded, but you said you make a printed form available.
Yeah, I can send you guys the PowerPoint, and you can also distribute my email address or my direct telephone line at work if that's something that anybody needs. Okay.
Yeah, just like to review some of this because it was a lot of information.
Yes, you are absolutely right.
Just
So
an
thank you.
aside, I
Are there
think
any other questions?
somebody had two computers on because everybody who spoke was echoing. I got echoed every time I spoke.
Oh, huh.
That happens. Somebody in the same house has two computers tuned in.
Hey, Stephanie, I was the one that contacted you, and I just want to thank you. This was incredible.
Oh, thank you, Robin. Yep, you were the one that contacted me.
Yeah, you were wonderful.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I'll write a little note, let Michael know as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that because I'm
Okay.
super new there still, so.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Again, I'll provide you guys with my email address. So if there's any other questions or follow-up information that I can provide you, I'd be more than happy to do that. But
Thank you
thank you guys very much for spending your evening with me. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of this nice day before it snows.
Yeah.
Good luck, Stephanie.
It's
Thank
fine.
you.